This is Vince Russo's The Brand.
What is up, everybody, and welcome back. Case number 89. We are going to be covering off the infamous Virgil. There's many stories that we can go over, and we're going to touch on about Virgil. But before we do, I am joined by the silver-tongued legend himself, John Poz. What up, John?
Hello.
And I'm also joined by the Colonel Kingpin, half asleep, Angel. What's up, Angel?
I'm fucking right. I'm half asleep. Why has an echo?
I have no idea. I don't hear an echo at all.
Yeah.
But I am the dad bod god himself, that beard, that fucking beautiful Piers Austin. And before we get started, we're just going to take a quick second, a quick pause for the cause, maybe, to thank some of those amazing sponsors that help us keep the lights on up in this bitch. Angel, take it away with that Sleeves.
Definitely check out sleeves.com. One of the greatest companies out there, man. If you have any sports in your life that you need to protect yourself on either the gridiron, the lacrosse field, definitely check out sleeves.com. It's one of the greatest websites out there for any athlete. You definitely got the dirty boxers. If you definitely want to give somebody a gift for the holidays, use promo code MWAPOD to get 10% off. And, tell them Wrestling with Tragedy sent you and it's Kingpin approved.
And healthvape.com, that healthy vaping experience. All of their products are no nicotine, no addictive or harmful chemicals, and they are vitamin infused. So make sure you check out healthvape.com. Check out all their vape and pod products. Use MWA Pod to get a 10% discount on your final purchase. Gentlemen, welcome back. I'm excited to cover this story, to cover Virgil. I think this is going to be a very entertaining show.
He is one of those guys, there's a wide range of stories and the spectrum here of awesome stories and then not so awesome stories. And then in the middle, which could go either way, where you think it's hilarious or you think this guy is very corny, if you know what I mean.
You know what? I a few months ago, and this is probably out of timeline. I saw that he charged Brooke Hogan $20 to take a photo with him, and I fucking popped for that shit.
See, sometimes he could be hilarious. Stuff like that is funny as hell. But did he not know it was Brooke Hogan? Did he know it was Brooke Hogan? You never know with him. He's a character.
Sure.
Well, I know he started a GoFundMe at one point. I think it was 2 years ago to raise money for himself. He does a lot of high spots. I don't know if he's serious, if he's legit, or he's just going batshit crazy, But it's just funny watching him do these crazy things, and he just never ceased to amaze me when he comes up with something new.
It's crazy, and we'll get into it, obviously. But he went from the lonely Virgil, right, and everybody making fun of him, to getting bookings, to doing cameo videos, or whatever you want to call them, and doing shout outs and stuff. He went from being a joke, and now people are paying him for stuff. He's almost in on the joke now, right? Don't you think? Or am I crazy on that?
I think he's just buying into it.
So basically, he's doing a William Shatner.
That's what it seems like to me. Yes, that's what it seems like.
But you know what?
I saw yesterday he put out a video. I guess Cornette ripped him on his podcast, and he came out in a video saying he's going to shove his foot up his ass and all this other stuff. So it's oh, this is great because Virgil's going back at one of the greatest trash talkers. I just thought it was funny. I was wow, look at Virgil. He's not taking it anymore. He's on the offensive all of a sudden.
Well, he got nothing to lose. I mean, his career. I'm not saying his career is over, but just like any wrestler, after you well, I'm not getting booked. What is he going to do to me? Not hire me?
Right.
Yeah, book me badly. At this stage of Virgil's career, surely he's not getting ready for a comeback to WWE,
Yep.
But, it's interesting, though, with Virgil, because, everyone, sees him as being this guy who's, hard on his luck, trying to make as much money as he can. I always have this idea that Virgil's probably got more money than any other, wrestler from his generation, but he's probably one of the most frugal motherfuckers of all time.
Do you remember a few years ago, Joe Dombrowski did a documentary at his house? It was called The Legend of Virgil. And they kind of went through the ups and downs and the lonely Virgil and him showing up at the subway, him, selling autographs and stuff. His house, it wasn't it was an apartment, but it wasn't small and it wasn't bad looking. It seemed okay, this guy may be more better off than we think. He probably made a decent amount of money in WCW, especially because he was on WWF for 7 years. You know,
Yeah.
then he comes to WCW. I'm sure he got a decent pay, but it's just funny. People just equate like, oh, he's probably got no money. He's probably got this. He's probably got that. It's just, I don't know. He seemed more well off in that documentary than it would be perceived.
Well, I mean, the thing is that I mean, it's just weird that I don't know. I always thought he was broke, because the guy is living like Mick Foley.
Yeah.
That's what I heard. But from my view, seeing him, I'm like, is he broke, man? Because he's just penny pinching everybody. He doesn't look like he's not wearing the fanciest clothes. He's not, So I just always thought he blew his money, and that's why he's doing these antics.
But one thing you got to
Well,
give
that's
him
fine.
credit for, though, like he's aged very, very well.
Well,
Like
he's black. Black don't crack.
That's true. That is true.
That
I
is
mean,
true. Yeah.
yeah. I
Yeah,
mean,
literally, how
that
old is
melon.
Virgil? He's got to be what? Right? He's got to be 50, right?
Virgil's
he's
50.
almost
No, Virgil's 59.
Oh, he's even older than I thought he was. Oh my god. Okay, so he does not look that old at all,
No, he
especially up
looks good.
close.
I
Yeah, he
just
looks
hate.
good.
It's just weird that when you watch when you look at any athlete, and when you watched him when you was a kid, and you're like thinking that he's older than you, and then you realize like I'm gonna be 50, he's 59. I'm like, oh shit, he's not that far off from age for me, because when he did Virgil with the Ted DiBiase, I just thought he was in his 30s. I don't know. That's just what I thought at the time, because I was a
Yep.
teenager watching him.
Yep.
But no, 59 years old.
Wow, he looks great. Damn,
Oh, absolutely.
he's
Do
in
you
good
think
shape too.
would you consider him a decent worker? Like the matches he
Oh, he
did
was
have.
garbage. He was garbage. I straight shoot from the hip from that shit. He was legitimately garbage. I mean,
But I always thought that I don't know if this is the correct term, but I always used it carryable. Like the guy can be carried if he's in there with a good guy. Like I've seen him versus Bret Hart. Obviously, Bret Hart's probably one of the best ever. But I've
Oh,
seen
yeah.
his match with Bret Hart. Like, wow, Virgil, this is a good match. Obviously, it's more Bret than him, but at least he could be carried, though, right?
yeah, but he doesn't have any. He's just like a dance. You need somebody to lead him
Right.
dancing, because I've seen some matches where he dropped people on their head. Just being fucking reckless. Not protecting his opponent. And I mean, I've seen many matches with well, basically at the time jobbers. And he was just like crush him, but crush him bad. I'm surprised the guy's still walking. So I mean, if he's not being led by somebody who he won't take liberties with, then he's fine. But watching him from the stands, just looking at him in action, wrestling somebody with no name, he'll fuck you up.
But do
I
you
was
think he would be
watching.
taking liberties though, or do you think it was more of like he was
No,
just a
because
shit?
he's a shit worker. He's a garbage. He needs somebody to guide him. He needs somebody. He's like a trained monkey. I don't want to use monkey because but 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 basically that's what it is. I mean, he needs somebody to just hold his hand and guide him through the whole match and just tell him do what to do step by step.
There's a match from Worldwide where he literally was about to suplex the guy and almost like just drops him and drops him in the apron. The guy looks like he breaks his neck.
Yeah, I
If he
saw that.
continues the match, but it's like, what the like? I don't know if he did it on purpose or if he just literally just like, oh crap, and dropped the guy. It was like,
No, because he
looked
just
horrifying for the
he
guy.
was jacked up and he just took again. He didn't protect his he didn't protect his partner. Remember, when you wrestle, these are your toys. We used to joke around, don't break your toys, because that's the thing, man. And when you do like that to somebody who's trying to make a living, and like, oh, I'm sorry, but you keep doing it. First time it's okay, second time okay, third time, nah, man, he's just being reckless. I will beat the shit out of him if he ever dropped me on my head. I will beat the brakes off his black ass. I swear to God, if I ever got in the ring and he did that. Because again, he's more, not saying famous, but again, out of respect of the pecking order, yeah, he's Virgil. I have to give him like, what do you want to do? But then, since I'm just like not lower than him, but level,
Yeah.
then, I said, what do you want to do? And if he just took liberties with me and dropped me on my head, oh my God, there'd be smoke in the city. I would get up and just, new jack him to death.
But that's the thing. Like he was partnered up with Ted DiBiase, and like, do you think
Lucky.
do you think he was earning good money back then? Like, I'm
Hell
sure. Like,
yeah. Hell fucking yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
he
with
literally is a part of
DiBiase?
main events. I know he's the manager or whatever. He's the bodyguard Virgil, but he's the manager. He's part of main events with Andre too. I mean, he's probably making a pretty penny, I would imagine, just being associated with Ted. How lucky is that? Like this guy comes in, he's got the best gimmick. They literally give him money to go spend. I'm sure Virgil probably took some, knowing him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I feel like he was probably making a pretty penny, especially then
Well,
when they were selling out 3 times a night and shit like that. It's like, whew, he
think
probably
about
made
it.
pretty good money.
If he was making, let's just use this as an example. Let's say $100,000 compared to DiBiase's 500,000. He was there
Right.
for what, 7 years?
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's just his base salary. Because remember, they used to get a percentage of the gate, merchandise, just everything. So he was probably making more than $100,000 a year. You know, it could be 900,000 because of the merchandise and the agreements that they had. Yeah, I mean, he probably made a good fucking penny. You know, I'm gonna
It's
look that
funny
up.
where
See,
like people like think he's a joke, and it's like, wait a second, this guy's making this much money? Like, what the hell?
but how did he get that spot? That's the problem. I was always wondering, like, who hooked him up with that spot? Since he wasn't a solid worker, who said, "Hey, man, let's use Virgil."
He had a good look though.
Yeah, but I mean, so did Rufus R. Jones and
Yeah.
S.D. Jones and Brickhouse Brown. I mean, there's other black athletes that were I'm not saying talented, but just had a little bit more flair to them. So what out of all of them made him so?
I don't know.
They could have got Iceman King Parson. You know, he's
Maybe they
sort of,
wanted a nondescript guy. They didn't want a guy with charisma like that. Like Brickhouse Brown and Parsons almost too much of a character. Maybe they wanted a guy to be more in the background.
just
Like Mr.
wondering.
Hughes.
Mr. Hughes? Well, yeah. I mean, yeah, they could have got a Mr. Hughes. He was around that time.
But I kind
It
of
is
think of like
interesting. It
Mr.
was him.
Hughes and Virgil being very similar in as way as characters because they were more background players than opposed to being like vocal and being heard on television or being like spotlighted in a match. You know what I mean? They were always that heater role.
What did you think about the name Virgil?
That was a diss on Dusty Rhodes, wasn't it?
Yes. Yep. Virgil Runnels. Yes.
Yeah,
Isn't that funny? Like, you didn't know that obviously until I grew up, but I was like, and and his bodyguard Virgil, you just hear Virgil, like, okay, weird name, okay. And then you read later on, it's like, oh, making fun of Jim Crockett, making fun of Dusty. He's Virgil. He's Jim Crockett's, bodyguard or
Okay,
really
so
slave,
a little bit. When he was in WCW, he was making $138,000 supposedly. So for doing squat, 138,000 a
Yeah,
year.
hardly worked, hardly wrestled, yeah.
And how many years was he in WCW?
So from 96, late 96 until probably 2000, I would imagine.
He was there to close, wasn't it? Because I remember him being part of the NWO black and white team. Like, when they sort of like NWO joined forces again and they had like the Wolfpack and black and white. And then the black and white was kind of like the
I know
mid carders and the Wolfpack was like the main event.
Yeah, that was more towards like 98 than 99. He actually played a character called Shane, which was a make fun of Shane McMahon, which is funny because that's his shtick, I guess. They're like, you're just always going to play. Like when he was Vince in WCW, obviously that was a make fun of Vince McMahon. So when Russo came in, he made him Shane. And then obviously Russo was supposed to be Vince. Ed Ferrara was Jim Ross, who was Oklahoma. Pat and Gerald were the Harris boys. Like everybody had like their own make fun of WWF. So he's like, okay, you're Shane. That was late 99. And I know he stayed a little bit in 2000. I'm not sure how much longer, but he had probably, I would say, 4-year run at WCW, which is nuts.
Yeah, because his run in WCW was kind of like it was just a nothing run, really. Like he wasn't really showcased with anyone. It was like, yeah, fuck it. It was just like almost like he turned up. Oh shit, he's in the NWO.
Yep. And at this point, we're kind of forgetting or discounting this. They were allowed to work, especially when he was in WCW. He was allowed to work indie shows. So I used to see him on my local indie shows in the Northeast. He's the headliner. They would say NWO member Vincent. And I remember going to one of the shows and he gave me his, I wish I still had, I don't have, but he was throwing out his wrist tape. You remember he used to wear that long wrist tape? So he took them off. He threw one to me, one to my brother. And we were like, hey, can we have the end? Because he had a cassette tape of the NWO theme. And we're obsessed with that song.
Yeah.
He's like, I can't. He goes, I got to hold on to this one. So he kept the cassette tape, but he was so cool to us and he was awesome. But I was thinking, like, holy shit, he's not only on TV, he's able to work indie shows and he's headlining. So it's probably $500,000 there. I mean, he's making extra money aside. Then he was signing 8x10. So I'm sure he made a pretty good penny in WCW, just sideways.
Oh,
You know, it's funny. You know, it's funny. It's just that I'm trying to find, and I'm paying attention, but I'm trying to find out how much he's making. Only the WCW stuff, but it says I found a website of people who went broke, and it says Virgil is one that went broke, and apparently it says Virgil has become something of the poster child for struggling broke pro wrestlers. A website Lonely Virgil has been set up for solely purpose of posting photos of Virgil looking lonely at wrestling conventions. So that's why I always get either he's broke. That's why I keep, because I'm reading all these articles, like, is he fucking broke? You know, because I never heard anything like he had a drug issue. I never seen him live a lavish lifestyle. So, you know, like, I never heard stories like he bought him this massive house. So that's why I was like, okay, what did he do with his money? You know, again, is this just a work? The Lonely Virgil, you know, the poster child of struggling wrestling. He's working an angle,
That's
or
funny. You know, Sam Roberts from he's in Sirius XM. He kind of stole the show from Opie and Anthony. I don't know if anybody even knows
yeah.
who those guys are, but he created the Lonely Virgil stuff, and he was making fun of Virgil, and he would take pictures of him, and then other people would take pictures and send them in to him. So he kind of started that stuff, all that Lonely Virgil stuff. And you know, Virgil would say, "I'm here with Ted DiBiase," and DiBiase isn't booked, like shit like that, and then he'd put it up on his website.
That's awesome. I mean, with DiBiase, but DiBiase's not booked. That makes sense.
Yes.
See,
It
and then
would say like wrestling superstar Virgil with Ted DiBiase, and it would just be him sitting there.
Oh god, that's hilarious.
and the funny thing, another website says he's worth $1.5 million. But again, I went to that same website and it said I have $5 million, and I don't know where that money went. So
Stuffed
I
in
don't.
the mattress.
I don't, just judging from that Joe Dombrowski documentary, I don't think he's broke. I think it was part of a gimmick, to be honest. Maybe he wasn't popular at autograph signings and stuff, but I don't know. It just seemed like he may have saved some of his money. He just didn't. It seemed like he wasn't as broke as they perceived him to be.
But
Well,
that's
this
the you look at wrestling marks, right? If they go to autograph signings, you've got Virgil, you've got, let's say,
Sergeant Slaughter.
Sergeant Slaughter. You've got Hulk Hogan, for example, and say when they're alive, like say Dusty Rhodes. You've got Terry. You know what I mean? You've got Ric Flair. You've got Arn Anderson. You've got all these guys. Who are you going to line up to see? Like, if you're a wrestling mark, you're gonna go wanting to get one of these guys that were like the top guys, the champions that had these prevalent storylines, not sort of just some side piece player. You know what I mean?
Yep.
You know, the one thing I hate about doing conventions, and it's not that I hate doing conventions, because wrestling always makes me feel like the Randy the Ram. You know, whatever happened? Where are they now? And half of them are fat, bald, and that's why I try to stay in shape. You know, it's not like when you're a celebrity, when you're like, you know, somebody like Buck Rogers or somebody, and you do these conventions making $1,000 an appearance, and then you do these conventions and you're like sitting there like a Lonely Virgil, like, and it's just, and typically like sitting there like this, watching fans just walk by, saying in your brain, like, please somebody sign. I mean, don't make me be sitting here all day. You know, how many photos did you sign? Only 2 people came to my table. You know, it's like, it's
But do you
kind of
see
like
the
a
gimmick
getting
though?
shit.
Like, would guys sit there in their full gimmick? Like,
I ain't
would
sitting
you
in
have
no
the
good.
glasses there and like the baldies like gimmick?
I just feel like I mean, I'm being honest, man. I feel a little bit embarrassed. I mean, I know it's supposed to be fun, but sometimes I feel like you know, like, I don't know, man. It just reminds me, it's like I said, it's just like you think, please come and sign. Hey, yeah, you know, you know, you don't want to be like sitting there and your friends are looking over like, man, nobody's went to the Baldy table, man. They're just sitting there, you know. I mean, it's good to see everybody, but sometimes that's what goes through your mind. Like, am I going to be remembered? Am I going to have a line of people asking for my autograph as you look at Kevin Nash's table, like,
Yeah.
but
it's funny,
I get some scraps.
like the Lonely Virgil, I feel like that was like long gone now, because the last few conventions I used to go to them all the time. I used to bring in some guests and we'd go to the conventions, and Virgil like kind of flipped it. He was getting booked for real. Like, he wasn't bringing himself in. He was getting booked for real. He had decent lines. I saw him taking a ton of pictures. I was like, holy shit. I don't know when it was, like the break between he turned it into like a profit and he turned it on. He literally turned that Lonely Virgil thing, and he became more popular from it. Like,
He
they
got it over.
thought, yeah, he got it over. They thought they were like burying him, and I know he got with the I think they're called the Megan brothers, the guys that run Iron Sheik social media and did the Iron Sheik documentary.
Yeah.
So they run which is funny because Virgil was verified on Twitter, and then I guess Twitter found out that he doesn't really run that Twitter account. It was those guys, so they unverified him, which kind of sucks for Virgil because it's not really him saying meat sauce and all this other stuff. He does really say that, but he's not really saying it then and there. So for some reason he got unverified because the brothers were running the account, which I don't know why that hasn't happened to Iron Sheik yet, because hello Earth to everyone out there. It's not Iron Sheik tweeting, it's those brothers. I'm sorry to break kayfabe there, but so Virgil, literally, I was at a convention. A guy I know booked him. I think it was like $500 or something like that. Like he booked him, and then he was getting extra money because he brought some of his own stuff. Like he brought pictures of him and DiBiase. So he ended up making pretty good money, and he actually had like a line and stuff. I was like, wow, he friggin' turned this thing around. He went from like being Lonely Virgil, he's a joke, to playing into it, playing it up, having that sign, that superstar sign with him, which was hilarious, because then you're playing it into it even more. And then people were into him again. It was weird. He like completely flipped the script. I can't believe it.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I mean, if he's working the angle, that's great. It's just like I said, when you hear those legends like Ted DiBiase, Iron Sheik, guys like I said, I used to watch when I was a kid, Bruce Beefcake and stuff, and Sonny, all went broke. And the worst thing is that when you see online, like what they consider broke, because like for example, like when an MC Hammer went broke and he went bankrupt, he lost, like, let's say, like, making it up here, $50 million. Oh yeah, I'm broke, I don't have any money. Technically, what they consider broke is like only have like 3 million left. So sometimes is that broke after you pay off your debt and sell your house and all the cars and stuff? All you have is 3 million. Then they say, oh yeah, he's broke because he lived outside his means. That's why I don't live outside my means, man. I hate sounding like a penny pinching, Shylock, but I just always save my money, man, because I'm always.
Do you think that happens with a lot of the guys though? Like say Beefcake, for instance. I know he lives with his wife and they have a house in Florida, but I'm sure it's a smaller house. Do you think maybe at one point he was just living beyond his means because he was making so much money from WWF and WCW?
Well, I'm just going off what Johnny Rodz always used to tell me, man. He used to tell me stories about guys who just live beyond their means, man, buying cars, Cadillacs at the time. Cadillacs were popular. Cadillacs every time, wearing gold, doing a lot of blow. Just thinking that paycheck was always going to continue flowing. And then when it was all said and done, they were all like, shit, broke. I mean, like I said, if you have a buddy like a Hulk Hogan in your corner, if you have somebody that like a Kevin Nash in your corner, there's a possibility that you're still going to be making some cash. But look at like I said, Kevin Nash and Scott Hall, they're buddies. I mean, Scott Hall's still working appearances, but Scott Hall blew through his money compared to Kevin Nash that definitely invested it and saved his money. Yeah.
I don't know if that's necessarily the case though. Like, not to get off topic though, you look at CM Punk and Colt Cabana though. Like CM Punk was a top guy in WWE for many years while Colt Cabana was out there on the indies. How come he couldn't get his buddy a job,
Well, I mean, it just depends, man. I mean,
he did at one point, and then he got fired for whatever reason.
Yeah, but
Scotty Goldman. Remember Scotty Goldman? Yeah.
But again, Piers, I know you haven't been in the business, not understand, but it's just all about politics, man. Look at Devon. He tried to get me into TNA, but Dutch Mantel blocked me, and he was like refusing to let me go. And I had Terry Taylor on my side. I had Devon on my side. I had Homicide on my side. But to the powers to be, they were like, no, I don't want him. I mean, all it takes is just one fucking tree in the middle of the road to block your car from getting over. No matter how many times you're chopping that tree with an axe, it's still gonna take it takes time. But that's the reason, man. It's all politics.
With Virgil, have you ever heard of him having any sort of like drug problems, alcohol problems, anything like that? 'Cause I don't know. I've never really hear like rumors.
No.
Some guys it's so obvious, like, oh, you hear about this guy, even Beefcake. Remember he had his problems. You hear about Beefcake, but I never really heard Virgil having like issues or problems with drugs and alcohol. Maybe I'm missing it, but I haven't really seen that from him.
No, I never heard anything about Virgil. That's the thing. I never heard anything negative besides he's a sucky worker and that and that he's just living off of luck basically. I mean, like I said, there's many other athletes out there that I'm like, fuck them. I mean, I don't give a fuck, but like Perry Saturn, I mean, that guy blew his money and wiped his ass with it. But I don't like the guy because of what he did to my friend Mike Bell and also what he was trying to do to me when I first started in the business. So I just never liked the guy. So I'm happy that he's broke. So I mean, that's just
a sidebar. Do you think if Mike Bell were to shoot on him that he would have took care of Saturn, or it was one of those things where he couldn't shoot on him?
Mike Bell didn't do it because he was still a nobody, and not saying nobody, but you know, he didn't have any power in WWE at the time doing
Because
the
I've heard stories. He's legit like a tough guy, like not to be messed with.
who?
Mike Bell.
Mike Bell? I don't know. I mean, Mike was a scrapper, but I just don't. I don't know. I guess I never seen him in action, and we've been so. I mean, I've been 7:45. See, that's why I knew it was the time. But Mike Bell, yeah, I just never saw Mike Bell as a scrapper. The person you might have to ask is Tony DeVito, because they're the ones when they were in WWF together during that time. I'm not saying he wasn't. I just never saw him in action, and he never talked shit. And I never heard anything like, "Yo, dude, don't fuck." He's like a Dick Slater. Don't fuck with him. He'll fuck you up.
Yeah.
He was always cool, and had fun with him. So I really don't know. I
So
just think
actually,
that,
Shawn Michaels of the team. Okay, got it.
yeah, but he was, but
Eddie.
he was, yeah, it's just that the way that Perry just did him wrong, and that's why Perry got his ass whooped by the APA, because Shane was the one that was pissed off that because everybody liked Mike Bell. So then when that's why if you watch the next week or whatever Raw or whatever, he got his ass handed to him. So
Yeah, I wouldn't want to fuck with Simmons or JBL.
So I found something interesting here that that Virgil actually retired in 2000 because after he made millions throughout his career and he was set for life, retired in 2000, but actually changed because he actually did blow his money on drugs, where he was then forced to return to the Indies to get more money. That failed, and then even after he had a short stint in WWE in 2010, he left because of drugs and had to resort to selling pictures to get money.
But see, that's what I don't understand. How much blow can you do if you're a millionaire? That's a lot of fucking blow, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's
But when you've also got hangers on around as well, instead of buying like, I don't know, like it, and I don't know how
But-
much coke one person could go through, but instead of buying like, I don't know, like an 8 ball, you're buying 2 ounces because you've got 30 people around that you got to blow out.
yeah,
You know what
but
I
I
mean?
never seen Virgil with an entourage of people walking around. That's the thing. I mean,
He's
I'm
lonely
not
Virgil. Yeah, he's
like I said,
lonely.
I'm not knocking him. It's just that from a visual standpoint of seeing him on the shows, during my career, I never saw him like with a plethora of people walking carrying his bags. You know,
Have you ever seen another guy like do stuff like that he did? Like for instance, be an ultimate salesman trying to sell you autographs at a convention. Like, have you ever seen guys do that where they're like so over the top, or show up in the New York City subway and sell autographs and stuff? Like, have you ever seen another wrestler do that, or is he the only one?
yeah, I see fucking Balls Mahoney put his son on the fucking table and said, "Hey, please, buy my pictures. I have to feed my kid." I
Oh,
remember that. I was at a show. That was years ago. And I
yeah.
mentioned that before, Piers, on one of the shows.
Yeah, I
But
remember.
yeah, I remember because I was like, yeah, because I was me and DeVito, and it was in a mission. We were doing a show together, and it was in a mission. It wasn't a convention, and everybody was out there, signing autographs, had a table and stuff. And I was walking by with DeVito, and Balls had his kid propped up just like sitting at the table. Buy my photos. I gotta feed my kid. And I'm like, you shit, is that a straight shoe? Hell yeah, man. I gotta feed my kid. I'm like, okay, none of my business. So yeah, I see some crazy shit.
Because he would just show up anywhere, and he'd have a table and his whatever you call that canvas little sign where it says wrestling superstar, and he'd just set up anywhere and start signing if people were interested and take pictures.
That's crazy.
I mean, I'm surprised he's not doing it on the exit, the on ramp or the exit of a highway, and just taking pictures. Like, it's almost like Where's Waldo, or like in the middle of a desert
That's kind of what
Las
Lonely
Vegas.
Virgil. If you went to that site, I don't even know if it's still around. That Lonely Virgil site. That's kind of what they do. They take a picture of him and they put him in an empty spot, like in a cornfield or something. They'd have him in the middle of the cornfield, like just
Oh,
funny shit like that.
they superimpose it.
Yes, yep.
Yeah, with today's technology, you can do that. You don't really have to go around setting shit up, and stuff. But
So he did that once, and before I forget the story, I gotta mention this. He did that once at a mall, and my buddy, good friend of mine, him and his little brother. I guess this is probably going back almost 15, 20 years.
Yeah.
So he set himself up in the mall. I was like, wow, Virgil's here today. Like, that's weird. Like, random. Okay. So he walks by. He's like, awesome. And he goes, hey, man, is that your little brother? He goes, yeah. So he just gives him an autograph, just signs it for the brother, gives him to the brother. And brother, I forget how old he was. He had to be like 10, but he knew Virgil from WWF TV or whatever. But he was a young kid. And so my friend who's older, I think he's probably about 8 years older than his little brother, but he's like, oh, awesome. Thank you, Virgil. Virgil grabs him by the the big brother grabs him by the arm, scoops him, turns around, he goes, "You owe me $20." And then he's like, "What?" He goes, "Yeah, you owe me $20 for that autograph." He goes, "You just handed it to my brother. What do you mean?" So he literally had to give him $20 because his brother didn't want to give back the autograph. You know what I mean? He thought that he was nice enough to just randomly give an autograph, but he wasn't. He was working him since he already signed it and gave it to him. The brother took it. He knows he's not going to give it back, so he takes him to the side and he's like, "Hey, man, like all secretive. Hey, so my friend had to give him $20."
See, that's the thing. Knowing me, oh, shit, dude, it's just a different mentality. I mean, I just don't care about Virgil. So if he put a high spot on my daughter, and he pulls me to the side, hey man, that's $20. I'll be, you know what, go fuck yourself and take that shit out of my daughter's hand and go, here's your fucking picture back. Dad, what are you doing? Don't worry about you. I'll get you. Look, there's beefcake. Don't worry, I'll buy a picture from him.
Right.
Yeah.
Because that's like when I was younger. I remember this is true shoot. I remember I used to go to the strip club, and this girl came up to me and fucking was like, "Aren't you gonna tip me?" And it's I was like, "What the fuck am I gonna tip you for?" So it was like she was trying to embarrass me. So I said, "All right." So the next girl that came by that was on the same stage, I gave her $30 as a tip because you don't ask for your tip, you earn that tip. So you better stick to that ceiling upside down and show me what you can do. But anyway, that's the thing. Like if it was me and Virgil did that to me, I was like, okay, I'll take that $20 and give it to fucking, hey, there's Barry Horowitz. Here's $20. Let me get your autograph picture and just fucking give it to my kid. That's what I would do. Fuck that.
That's to me, I actually like Virgil even more because it was funny that he screwed over my friend like that. But
No,
I
it
just
is
have a
funny.
sick sense of humor like that. But I just was thinking, I was like, man, it's like imagine how many times like he's done that, or like you know what I mean? Like he'll sign it, you think he's like for free, or you think he's being nice to your little brother, or little sister, and it's like, oh, that's not good. Like very carny, super carny.
Yeah. Well, talking about Carney, I actually was reading that this stuff that Ted DiBiase was saying about him, and he said that Virgil, like when they were together, he was never a problem, never drank, didn't smoke, didn't do drugs, always on time. And he understood his job and he knew his place in the pecking order. He never was out of line, never caused any problems. Very, very nice guy. And then as like later in life went on, he would start to call promoters and say, "Hey, would you like to book me and Ted for this event or show and stuff like that? I'll pay my own hotel fares and and trans and stuff like this." And then like a day or two out before the event, "Hey, look, Ted can't make it. He's had a thing pop up." And eventually this got back to Ted because this is when Ted's going out and visiting churches and doing speaking events. And he's like, "Look, you can't fucking do this. You don't just call promoters and tell them to book you and not to use my name. Like what the fuck?"
Right. Right. I'm wondering how many times Angel did that with DeVito. Huh.
Well, yeah, well, he's the Marty of the group, so
That is pretty bad, though. I mean, talking about getting a bad reputation. I mean, that'll do it to you. It's like, okay, Ted, who's obviously like a headliner type guy, DiBiase's more like the mid carder guy. You're using him to get a booking, and he doesn't even know about it. Not good.
Yeah, and that's some real Carney shit in itself. You
Yep.
talk about Carney stuff, and that's a prime example of that. And I think that Virgil definitely embraced that Carney lifestyle, man. And I think that he saw that lonely Virgil thing as a way of a gimmick for him to make more money. And best of luck to him, man. He fucking did it.
I mean, but that's any gimmick, man. I mean, that's just the Gilbert. Didn't have really much of a career, but then when he did the Gilbert, that definitely resurrected his career.
Yep.
I mean, there's a lot of things out there that you didn't have any push when you were not younger, but at the time, and then you find this like the Willis Shatner thing, man. I mean, he embraced that Star Trek shit and started doing crazy shit and songs and Airplane, and he didn't take himself serious. And he was making more money doing those angles, man. I mean, he embraced it and made money the best he could. And I mean, I'm not saying William Shatner's broke, but you know what I mean. I mean, fuck it, if you can't beat him, join him philosophy.
It's almost like a resurrection of a career, really.
Yeah, I mean, it's a resurrection of career, but some actors or some athletes don't want to go that route because like if you're a Hulk Hogan, but then you become a joke. You don't want to be known as a joke, but some people embraces that option,
Do you think that Hogan got him into WCW though? Because it seems like they're doing the NWO thing. They're going to make fun of Vince, but it seemed like Hogan must have liked him along the way or something, or maybe Hall and Nash, somebody brought him into WCW
Well,
and they liked him.
they
Well,
said that. They said
what's
that I
Gus?
remember reading an article that said Hogan brought him in, and and like I said, maybe he was real tight with a lot of motherfuckers, and that's the thing. I mean, I'm not saying he's not a likable guy. Now I'm not saying. I mean, look at Brian Knobs. Not knocking Brian Knobs, but he was tight with all those motherfuckers.
Yeah.
He's doing a fucking podcast with fucking The Godfather. You know, and it's on I don't know what the fuck I saw it, but I saw the trailer and I'm like, man, that's a cool ass fucking gimmick. And I'm gonna say he's broke, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It's not who you know, man. It's who you blow. That old
Right.
terminology.
Right. True.
100%.
It seems like I don't know, you want to say lucky, but it seems like, okay, if you're on WWF TV for 7 years, I mean, that's like, wow, your stock kind of goes through the roof because it's like everyone knows you. They've seen you. You're in the Hogan era, the golden era of WWF TV, all over the TV. Then you're in WCW, and WCW has that huge boom, and then the Monday Night Wars. It seems like, wow, this guy does have like street cred or whatever you want to call it, like his Q rating, or whatever the hell that thing is, where it's like people know who he is. I mean, that's got to be through the roof. He was on TV for what, 11 straight years? It's pretty crazy.
And I also
Maybe
want
13 straight years.
and I just want to correct myself because I just started thinking like, you know what? It's not like who you know, man. It's just the timing. Because I just realized, I mean, and again, I'm not knocking my partner, and I need to talk to him about that because I was curious about. Because DeVito was real tight with Shawn Michaels, just incredible. Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, when they were in during that era, the Click era. I mean, that's how they got the fucking suck it from DeVito and the boys in the back. That's how they got that gimmick. It was DeVito and the boys doing it, and they're like, and then they got the suck it thing. So I know I probably did ask him, but it's just knocking. But he was really tight and still is with Shawn and all those motherfuckers. And I don't remember why DeVito never got any further as a even working behind the scenes. Like he got a job. So I mean that's something I'm gonna ask him. Hey, dude, why was you still such a loser even though you knew all these people?
Right.
I'm gonna text him, come think about it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna find out. He's probably still asleep.
All these, that can be our next episode.
Do you think that Virgil would ever go in the WWE Hall of Fame?
I don't think he's done enough to really warrant it, to be honest.
I always think about that because not Kobe War was a lot better, but I'm saying like certain guys get in, it doesn't even matter. Like they could have had a cup of coffee there, they could have never wrestled there. He wrestled there for a long time. Just I wonder.
But really, his role was that of a heater, though, wasn't it?
Pretty much.
He was what?
So more of like a heater, like a just manager type role, like. And even then, like he wasn't really like a mouthpiece for DiBiase. DiBiase was
shit. He was no Heenan or fucking Slick. I mean,
that's what I mean. Like you look at guys around that same generation. You got Heenan, you got Virgil. You know what I mean? Like it's.
But he is a former $1 million champion, though.
Yeah, but also you also got to remember at the same time, I'm thinking of other people that didn't really talk much. And I remember when fucking Big Boss Man was now I forgot his gimmick name. The one where he was Big Bubba. Was it Big Bubba Rogers?
Big Bubba Rogers. Yeah.
Yeah, Big Bubba Rogers. I remember watching him in WCW WCW, and he was playing Big Bubba Rogers. My motherfucker just stood in the background, never said a word, But it just depends, man. It's the timing.
Think about it though. Yeah. With him, he was embroidered in like the Hogan, DiBiase, Andre. Like he's in there with that feud. So I mean, that's very good. But then even after that, he feuded with DiBiase, who's one of the top heels, and then he had Piper on his side, like training him. So I don't know. It's like the fans were kind of really into him at one point. He was super over. Maybe it was more because DiBiase was such a good heel, but it was weird. They had Piper involved. They had DiBiase. Like he was kind of a part of like main feuds for several years.
And John, just refresh my memory because it's been so long. Because all I remember him in is those candy fucking cane, those pants and boxing shoes. was the montages always the boxing? Like I remember visual. I mean, like I said, it's been a while, but in my brain, I remember him boxing. Yeah, doing promos, doing that. Was that legit? I can't remember.
I don't think so, but he would totally play into it. Like he would do like the happy feet, like the
Okay,
Apollo
yeah.
Creed, the little dancing and stuff. He'd always do the fake
The
jabbing and stuff and the shuffle. Yeah, he'd always do that stuff, but I don't think he had a legit
No, no,
background
no.
at
I
all.
just remember that as like in my brain, I see like a vision of him.
Yeah, his shtick was like a fake boxer almost. Yeah,
Okay, yeah, it's been a while, so yeah, makes sense. Go
but
ahead,
I did
Pierce.
like that DiBiase feud. Remember when he turns on him and he hits him with the $1 million belt? The crowd goes
Yes.
nuts. Royal Rumble '91. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, yeah. His
Yeah,
arms are huge too, if you look at it. I know it's funny, like he's probably what 6'1", like 230, something like that. But back then, you thought he was so small because everybody else was so big.
he's 5'11", 250. Supposedly, these are the
Okay,
stats that I'm looking at,
all
but I
right.
could be that
Because
could be
I know I've
100
met
percent
him a
wrong.
few times, and I'm about 6 foot. We're probably about eye to eye almost. So yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. He's not as small as like you would think. Standing next to DiBiase, who's 6'5", or Andre, who's almost 7 foot. It even like X Pac, you would think he was like smaller or shorter, but he's not.
No, he keeps himself in shape. I mean, I'm be honest. I mean, that's a legit shoot.
Have you
I
ever
mean,
wrestled, Virgil?
no, because
Indies? Indies? No,
no,
no.
because I know then the thing that
Would have
no.
beat the brakes off.
Yeah, but see, that's the problem. See, that's the thing about wrestling that's just you got to understand. When you first started in the business, you sit there and you take your lickings. So that's why people take liberties with you because you know that they know that you're not going to take that like gonna face him off. So if Virgil dropped me on my head at the time as a newbie, I would have ate it. I would have been like,
Mm,
oh, okay, because again, it would have fucked my career. As the years go on and I become the character and the kingpin and I set myself up in as established person, then your mindset changes. So then the same person, like, and remember, I hold a grudge. So I always remember things like, oh yeah, that motherfucker dropped me on my head. Okay, it's on now. You know, receipt, because now yeah, but that's what I'm saying. That's how you get back at people. But yeah, man. Yeah, if I'd never wrestled, I would have told you that. Yeah,
yeah.
I would have still been waiting on that. He would have been on my hit list of the next people I wrestled.
Because Shane Douglas always tells us that him and McFoley used to get, booked there, and Dominic DeNucci, through his connection to WWF, would get them like, the jobber matches, the enhancement matches and stuff. And so Shane was lucky he got like Macho Man, Paul Orndorff, a bunch of guys who you would think maybe stiff or snug or whatever you want to say. He said they were so easy to him. But then Foley got the Bulldogs, and obviously we know that story. Dynamite Kid takes Foley's head off, breaks his jaw. He can't even chew. He's got to eat a food or drink food out of a straw for a week. It's one of those things where he was like, oh, I was so lucky I got Macho Man, who in the back, which was crazy, that he would shake the guy's hand, like, thank you, thank you. You made me look good tonight. Thank you and stuff. He's like, oh, you're fucking Macho Man. You don't need whatever. He's like, no. He's like, when you get older in the business, always shake the guy's hand like before you. Something tells me Virgil didn't have that same like respect where like like the guy in WCW, he broke the
Yeah.
guy's neck. Like, did he thank him? I even saw another one where he like did almost like a basement drop kick to the guy. Just flat out kicked him straight in the face. I was like, oh man. I don't wonder if
It's
he gave that same respect.
No, I don't know. I mean, that's the thing. When you become a gristled veteran, man, it's just like I said. I have nothing to lose, no more. I really don't care. And anything that I do in my life right now is just controversy. So if I ever had a situation with Virgil and I would have just come across that locker room and just beat the brakes off him, that's just publicity for me to be out on the doom 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 TMZ. Virgil and the Kingpin Angel for the locker room. I mean, that's just not. It's just I don't care. But it's just like, yeah, different mindset, different time.
Why do you think he went through like drug addiction after his career though? Like, do you think it was like he was just bored, sitting around home doing nothing, and it was just like, fuck it, I'm gonna take some coke. I'm gonna
No, okay, we will just like the other show, depression hits everybody differently. I mean, if that's all you're known for and you're not going to get hired because you're just a comedy skit for the show, that's hard to that's hard to grasp sometimes, man. Some people embrace it and some people can't deal with it. I mean, yeah, I mean that's just how it is. I mean, pause. Don't you agree? I mean, like I said, if you're a comedy and you just don't embrace it, there's just two roads to take.
Yep.
You know, I don't know.
I think with him though, maybe out of the limelight, you're not a star anymore. You become depressed. It could be, and there's like nothing else to do. Almost, you just feel like, oh man, I'm not getting booked anymore. I'm not a star anymore. I'm semi-retired. Maybe just fall into a pit
Well, I mean, again, not to try to knock the guy, and I'm just bringing this up, but it's just it's the road you take and you make your own destiny. But I mean, the Marty Jannetty and Shawn Michaels thing is the same because he had the same opportunity as Shawn, and they were walking the same path. It's just that Shawn went to the right, he went to the left, and all it takes is just one step. That's all it does. One step to this
Mhm.
way get off the beaten track, and then there's your career. Again, not knocking Marty. It's just that I just remember hearing they were cultivating him to be one of the top stars, just like a Shawn Michaels. He had opportunities.
With Virgil, though, if you think about it, it's like how many guys would have killed to be in his spot for 7 years when the WWF really was at almost their most popular at one point, and this guy's on TV for that whole stretch of time. So it's funny people always make fun of Virgil, but I bet you a lot of people know his name over 90% of other wrestlers, even a lot of the current wrestlers. I'm sure they know Virgil more than them. So it's one of those things where people make fun of him or he's a joke, whatever. But I feel like you have that much TV time in WWF in their heyday, you got to give the guy credit because these other people didn't have that. I mean, that's pretty impressive. Just thinking about that and looking back, I always like marvel at those guys. It's like Coco stayed on TV for such a long time.
Mm.
It's just great for them. But also, it's like, wow, they must be doing something right.
I mean, look at the Iron Sheik. I mean, the same thing. I mean, he was going on Howard Stern. He was doing just a lot of funny stuff. He embraced it. I mean, again, Iron Sheik was supposed to be this badass character, and then when things didn't, I mean, like I said, you have to just, what's the word? Change with the times. And just keep making that money no matter how offbeat it is.
And maybe humble B. Brian Blair as well.
Mm.
Yeah, but B. Brian Blair, I mean, he's
No, remember
probably
that
doing.
Iron Sheik joke? For some reason, he always goes, "I'm going to humble B. Brian Blair. I'm going to fuck him in
Oh,
the ass." Like that was for some reason. I don't know why Brian Blair, but that would be like the butt of his joke a lot of the time. I have no
you
idea
know,
why.
the funny thing about the Iron Sheik is just my favorite interview is when him and Mean Gene, and he goes, "Oh, Iron Sheik, you're the greatest wrestler. Oh, you a smart Jew, my friend, very smart Jew." you know, I can watch it every time, and I pop for it because, and you can see, Mean Gene's just like out of his eyes, like. He just called me like this, like smart Jew. I just popped for it because of the expression, but he had to keep a straight face. But you could tell, like he's like, did he just call me
There's no
intelligent
way.
Jew?
There's no way that a performer could pull that off in 2020.
No, no.
Like, just imagine a Miro saying that.
But it's funny. Like I said, I was just watching a comedy roast just yesterday before I went to bed about Bob Saget and Gil. I forgot his name. He was a comedian. He died of an OD of drug abuse. But anyway, he was throwing out a lot of. It was funny as fuck, but he threw a lot of Jew jokes in his roast. A Greg Gardino, comedian. But
Greg
anyway,
Giraldo.
Greg Girardo, thank you. Yeah, and he did a thing with Bob Saget. Bro, I never laughed so hard, but he's like, do a lot of Jew jokes instead. But can you do that now? I mean, the only way you can get away with it if you're a fucking Don Rickles, like you're a Jew. A black person can only make fun of a black person because you can't be racist. A Jew can only make fun of a Jew and say, we're a penny pitching, society, and they can say, oh, the woke, you're racist. It's just like it doesn't.
Mm.
It can't mesh together.
Jerry Lawler always had the Jew jokes. Remember, he would say if somebody said like they were the master of judo or something, he goes judo. He goes, "Don't you get those in the morning at the bagel store or whatever?" Like he like kind of make one of those jokes.
Uh,
My Jewish father-in-law is probably doing backflips right now.
Oh damn!
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But yeah, look, I think like with Virgil though, like as I said, the lonely virgin, the lonely virgin, the lonely Virgil. I think he definitely was playing up the gimmick of it. I just find it interesting that like throughout his whole career, like his whole WWE run, WCW run, he wasn't known to be someone who abused drugs. And then like after he got out of the business, when he retired, that's when he decided to start going down that path. And like, I don't know, man, like I think it's, he didn't take a lot of bumps, man. Like he was pretty much just on the sidelines for a lot of the time. But even then, like abusing drugs after you get out of the business, it must have just come down to boredom.
I feel like especially if he's not getting booked either. You know what I mean? If he's not getting booked anymore.
Mm.
Although now it doesn't seem to be a problem. I've seen him booked a lot. But back then, I mean, for whatever reason, he had a bit of a rough stretch there, rough patch getting booked. I remember him and Ted used to get booked a lot together, and I think as soon as that kind of washed up, and Ted was still getting booked and he wasn't, I think maybe that bothered him too. That could be like, well, I guess I'm nothing, without Ted. Maybe he kind of was down on himself. Who knows?
It's one of those things where it's really sort of hard to sort of balance out. But interesting story, man. And John, you actually have had some interactions with Virgil in the past, right?
Yes. Interviewed him before. Was a part of not booking him, but we were booking a bunch of guys, and he was also booked, like at the table next to us. So we were kind of like conjointly together. I don't know. I thought he was hilarious. He was such a funny guy. He was really cool. He was really personable, making funny jokes, just talking about random shit. He was like almost saying, he goes, man, I was so lucky to be in the NWO. I don't even know if I should have been in it, but I was lucky. Like kind of almost like self-deprecating a little bit, which is different than what you see when he's out there being like super cocky. So I just thought that was interesting. I was like, wow, a lot of like self-deprecating humor, like he's lucky and but then if like a fan comes like, yeah, man, NWO for life, I'm NWO, or like he would totally kind of play like a different character, but like behind the scenes, even when I interviewed him when we were like off air, he was cool as hell. He was like nice. He's like, hey, anytime you want to do anything, you let me know. Like definitely different than the kind of perceived character on TV. So that's why I always like take it with a grain of salt when I see the Lonely Virgil stuff or like he was a carny. Like maybe that is a part of him, but almost seems like it's part of a gimmick that he's kayfabing. And then when you talk to the real Virgil, he's actually like pretty damn cool.
Yeah, but the thing about Virgil is that think about it. It's just like he tests you. He tests to see if you could get away with it. $20, or
Yep.
he'll say like, yeah, da 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 da, whatever, and then he'll throw out something like, yeah, just for a small fee. You call his bullshit and say, yo, don't work me, man. I'm not these fucking greenhorns. So either do it for free or don't do it at all.
Yeah.
And then either he will do like, oh, I'm just messing with you, brother. But he just tests the waters to see if he could shake that money tree. I mean, and the best money tree to shake is the pause tree. It's it's just very fruitful with money. And
maybe Virgil's working me for money. Who knows?
Yeah, that's the right tree to shake. The apples of gold just dropped in this shit. Golden fleece.
But I don't know. I thought like just talking to him, maybe he's working me off, away from things. But I just thought he's really cool. Like I was like, wow, this is not, who I thought he was. It's a little bit different talking about the meat sauce and the Olive Garden and the breadsticks and the whatever other nonsense, which apparently has worked because it got him T-shirts and pro wrestling tees, and he's selling this shit. So I guess it worked to an extent.
Oh yeah, him and the Bischoff thing. You're like, oh yeah, he invited me to Olive Garden, and
Yeah,
it was funny. Yeah, it was pop for that one.
The other thing is too, like any guys that like have like the action figures and stuff, like they can kind of like live on forever because people want to get the action figures signed. Like, oh, he's got a Hasbro. Oh shit, we got to get that one. Like, so that's another like good thing for him or any of the other guys. Like you can kind of live on forever in your action figures because people are so into them now. And then some people want it signed, so he can kind of live forever.
Yeah, man. I mean, and also what makes it different, man, especially when you have like a Ted DiBiase action figure from the WWE and the Virgil action figure. I mean, all those other action figures are always the same, black Sharpie, but with him, he could use a silver Sharpie and always stand out from the rest.
Yeah, look at that.
Because of that brown skin. Black doesn't go on black.
I knew you were going. I was gonna say, where the hell's he going with it? There you go. But I think like autograph opportunities. If you think about it, it's like you get the DiBiase picture with Virgil, you got to get them both signed, right? If you have that picture, you can't not get the Virgil signature if you have DiBiase.
I mean, it's
this little
fish and chips, milk without the cereal without the milk. I mean, it's just it has to be complemented, So it's not complete without Virgil, But like I said, I wonder. I mean, you might know, Paz. I mean, how tight was he? I mean, they were probably cool, but was he real tight with DiBiase? I mean, I would have been like also working that angle if because DiBiase got a job and everything. I mean, I'm surprised. Were they tight? Or was
I heard it was just storylines that they weren't really tight at all. They wouldn't hang out or anything like that. Never heard of them being like together off screen. Always was like a kayfabe thing. It just seemed like two different worlds. It didn't seem like they would mesh.
But I figured they would mesh because I remember watching an interview that, like, oh, yeah, that scene with me by the pool, that was Vince's house. Vince wanted me to eat the finest restaurants. He always wanted me to carry this wad of cash. We lived the gimmick. So my mind is that Virgil had to tag along with all this because visually Vince wanted everything to be perfect, even off camera. So that's why I was just wondering, since you're hanging out with the guy for so many years, you're going to be sitting in the limo like, yo, you don't become friends. That's why I was just curious.
It almost seemed like when they were like at signing together, it's almost like DiBiase, like he likes him, but he's one of those. It's like almost like your kid brother. It's like you like him, you don't mind that he's around, but you're not like conversing with him. You know what I mean? That always kind of struck me as that like relationship.
Gotcha. Understandable.
But did you guys see when Virgil popped up in AEW under Soul Train Jones?
Yes, that was hilarious because Jericho, who kind of wanted to make a joke and kind of be in on it, was like, "This will definitely get a pop. Like this will get over," and it did. It worked. So it's like one of those things. Where it's like, well, he is. I don't know. He just somehow gets his way in and stays relevant. I feel like he's been great at that for years. And Jericho, obviously, kind of in on the joke too, but pretty smart and pretty good because I was like, that was a great cameo. I mean, unexpected but great.
See, and that's the thing, man. I mean, like I said, that's an angle you could work, because it's always good in the montage.
Yeah.
I could visually see Chris Jericho having a conversation with somebody, and then they pan the camera back, and in the corner you see the lonely Virgil. What the hell are you doing here? Just selling pictures, brother. And then all of a sudden he appears on Impact doing another segment. It's just that's money right there.
Because they even did him like, remember when Edge and Christian did like their ENC show on WWE Network, which I think was like a couple years back, and they had like a skit where they're in WWE warehouse and they like found this, like they're going through like this like old trunk of something and they're pulling out stuff, and then it's like Virgil who's like going through a bag in the background, and it's like they go, "There's Virgil," and he runs off like a rat, like it's just been caught. And it's like,
see, he's in on the joke. He's in on it, which is great, I think. Because look, I mean, he got paid for that appearance. You know what I mean? Like he's in on the joke, which is great. He doesn't care. I don't think he just doesn't care. If you want to make him look foolish or not, I think that's great because he'll take the payday.
yeah, pay me and fuck off. Simple as that. Yeah, I'll do it.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with taking a payday, man. That's the key thing,
And he was I saw him, I had to be a few months ago, but he was doing like virtual signings. So it means somebody goes to him or somebody books him for a convention. And after the convention's over, they go online, they go on Facebook and they do it virtually. And it seemed like he did really well there. People were interested. I mean, he's totally hammering it up saying like, oh, the meat sauce and, oh, this guy's not getting any breadsticks or whatever. Because people, they'll go on, they'll get the autograph, they ask a question. But he's totally like playing up all his character, like all that stuff. Like I thought it was great. I thought he was like hilarious. I was like, wow, look at Virgil showing a lot of personality, but totally buying into the whole like Virgil shtick or shit, whatever you want to say.
Shtick.
Sticky.
Yep. See, you're good, intelligent Jew. I like how you're thinking. Shtick.
Like I was like, wow, look at Virgil. He got booked on a convention now. He's doing all virtual signings. People are actually buying his stuff. Like he's over. And it pisses Angel off, but he's over.
Oh, 100%. I actually just found a pretty funny photo of him. Where is it? Shit, where is this? Sec. Just gonna bring it up here. You can keep
not a lot of guys, if you think about it, not a lot of guys are over in like two different boom periods. You know what I mean? He was over in the Hogan boom period, WWF, WCW boom period. Pretty damn good. He's been pretty lucky his career.
Yeah, but he's been pretty lucky. But has he been very fruitful with his money?
We don't know. See, yeah, we don't know.
I mean, yeah, you could still be used a lot, but and are you making that money to compensate for all the stuff that you're doing? I don't know. I mean, like I said, Virgil is, like I said, if he's working the ankle, he's working the ankle. God bless him. It is what it is, but gotta figure that out.
All right, here you go. Where is it? Virgil one.
Another thing too is like as each kind of legend from that era passes away. I know it's kind of a sad thing to think about or say, but as each legend passes away, like he kind of goes up a step. You know what I mean? Like, okay, can't book this guy anymore. Well, it's Virgil from that era. You know what I mean? Like as each guy passes away, the other guy moves up a notch. You know what I mean?
So do you think at the final, as the final story of Virgil's life. If he does pass away, they'll do the Lonely Virgil, the last page, and put the table and the belt and the pictures right at the
Yes.
cemetery.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
I
Hey,
think,
there's Virgil.
yeah, I think
Hey,
that'd be
Savio
fucking.
Vega. Hey.
Yeah, I got heat with him. Anyway,
No, you better not. I swear to God, you better not.
yeah, I do a little bit of heat with him. You know.
Shit. Wait,
But yeah,
Virgil or Savio Vega?
Vega.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. I don't have nothing with the Virgil, but yeah, that's it's like a Wells. Where's Waldo? But again, if you make money off it, that'd be great. I mean, I hope he is making money off it.
And I was at a signing not that long ago in Philly, and Virgil was booked by somebody. It wasn't like he was Lonely Virgil there. I was shocked. He was kind of not. I wouldn't say busy, but he was steady.
Well, talking about Philly, how come you was in Philly last night?
So my wife at a wedding, I was watching the kids. Didn't I tell
You
you
could
that
take,
yesterday?
yeah,
I
yeah,
told
but
you.
I
Yeah.
figured you could take the kids as a little treat, I mean, and stuff. And then fucking HC Loke, the most untalented wrestler in this business, sent me a fucking picture because he's doing an autograph signing there, and he fucking sent me a picture last night saying "Be jealous, bitch," and he's at Tony Luke's, so.
Oh, nice! Right down the street from the ECW arena.
Oh, yeah, I was like, he made me pop. I said, that motherfucker, that no talented Marty Jannetty motherfucker, just fucking, he's, like I said,
Years ago, I was at an indie show. Ah, there you go.
and
I
then
was
he,
at an indie show. Yeah, there's Loke at the arena. Somebody from Tony Luke's was walking by with like a thing full of cheesesteaks. They don't do that anymore, but isn't that cool? Like they actually brought the cheesesteaks to ECW Arena. We're selling them right there. I was like, man. Obviously,
oh
now they sell
yeah,
food there. They don't do it. But I was like, man, it's such a great idea from Tony Luke's. I
oh
don't have
yeah,
to
Tony
walk
Luke's.
down the street. You bring it to me, and I can just eat it right here at the show.
Well, yeah, Tony Luke's is around the corner. Like, and
Yeah.
for fans out there, I'm joking about Loki. He's a good, talented dude. That's just our personal joke between each other.
Carnage
We always.
Crew.
Yeah, horrible. And that's
Oh,
another motherfucking thing, man. Well, the Baldies are going to make appearance on February 11th. We're still finalizing everything, and guess who fucking is going to be there carrying our bags?
yep.
HC Loke. He was able to squeeze his
So you could
ass
do
in.
the Carnage Crew on the left, and you could do the Baldies on the right.
That's what they fucking gonna do. So we're gonna do supposedly a 3-man tag team with HC Loke and the Carnage Crew / Baldies and stuff. So I'm like, all right, tremendous. It's gonna be good old days. Loke, my bags, please.
Angel's making a comeback. It's
I want to wrestle. Yeah.
But guys, it's time for us to start wrapping up. Final thoughts on Virgil. Angel, you want to kick it off?
User. No, just kidding. Virgil, I don't know, man. Like I said, God bless him, man. If he's doing angles and he's making money, it is what it is. I mean, ride that wave until you can't ride it no more. I mean, like I said, he's not hurting nobody. He's working everybody. If he was able to shake, like I said, shake money out of people, and people are just, I'm not saying stupid to give it to him, but if he worked him to get it to him, then he did his job. He ain't gonna work me. I know that for sure. But you got to make money in this era. So I just believe. I mean, it's Virgil, man. Like I said, it's just like it's Vince. It is what it is. So nothing negative.
Pause.
For me, I don't know. I love Virgil, and just thinking back, like, okay, he did some corny shit, the Lonely Virgil stuff. I get it, but if you're from that era, that Hogan era, that golden era, to me, it's like you're on a little bit of a pedestal because that's the era I kind of grew up in. I love that era of wrestling. Then I fell back in love with the NWO stuff, and then like, okay, he's a part of that too. So to me, he's got a pretty good. Pretty good lore or whatever you want to say. He's pretty high up there in my book just for the fact that he's able to stick around and be on TV for all the amount of time. Yes, he's not a huge star, or he's not a main eventer, or he's not, the upper mid card, maybe he's mid card or whatever you want to say. But to me, always stuck around. He was part of big main events, whether it was WWF or WCW. So I got to hand it to him. Whatever he did, you want to say he was lucky or whatever, or if it was just maybe his quiet charisma. Who the hell knows? But he was able to stay on top and be in the business for a very long time and be on TV for a long time. So kudos to Virgil. And now being able to make money and do the autograph signing and flip it on the Lonely Virgil stuff and make it into a gimmick where people are actually paying to see him and get his autograph and take pictures with him. Kudos to Virgil.
Yeah, I agree with what both of you guys said. I mean, he's not harming anyone. And I love hearing stories about carny shit. I think that's hilarious. And as I said at the start of the show, when he got $20 off Brooke Hogan for doing a photo, I fucking popped at that. I thought that was hilarious. Yeah, man, fuck. Like, he's embracing it. He knew his role in what his job was to do when he was a performer. He's, I think he didn't step out of that sort of role. I don't think he had the talent to really to go any further than what he did, though. You know what I mean? And hearing from what Angel was saying earlier about how he worked, I got to agree. I think where he was at, that's where he peaked.
Yeah, he was the shits. But I mean, it is what it is, man. I mean, you know, you can only what is that? Can't make chicken salad out of chicken shit. So, so it is what it. You know, God bless him, man. You know, I'm happy for him.
Well, look, guys, let's start wrapping it up. John, you want to take care of the first sponsor for us?
Health Vape, healthvape.com for all your, well, not as Angel would say, but for all your nicotine needs. The boost, the energy, the vital, the restore, go to healthvape.com. Use the promo code MWAPOD for 10% off. That's MWAPOD. Great stuff there from Health Vape.
And make sure to check out sleefs.com. That's SLEEFS. Sleeves, your number one place for all your athletic wear. They've got armbands, compression pants, compression shorts, compression socks, headbands, mouth guards, boots, and even dirty boxes. So make sure you go and check out sleefs.com. Use that promo code MWAPOD to get a 10% discount on your final purchase. But guys, look, that's been the episode for the week. You know, episode 89. This is the Christmas week special episode that's being released. So, you know, to everyone out there that supported Wrestling with Tragedy, thank you very much. I hope you all have a very Merry Christmas, and I hope you guys enjoy your Christmas as well.
You too, brother.
Thank you, Piers. You too. Even though you don't celebrate it, you too.
We celebrate Christmas.
No, I'm kidding. Okay.
Until next time, guys, we are Wrestling with Tragedy, and we'll see you again next week. All the best. Take care, and we'll see you soon. Peace.
This is Vince Russo's The Brand.